All right, everyone. I am seeing that it is 6:31 right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Will Stafford. I am the Cooking Matters AmeriCorps Direct member at the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, and we're very excited to be doing this series with cows. This is the first session of the year. So just know that we will be doing this every second Tuesday of the month at the same time. If you follow our Facebook or CALS, we have a link on our posts where you can register for any of those and see what we're going to be discussing each week. So please, after this, feel free to head over to Facebook and look at that if you haven't already. Jasmine will be my chat moderator today. Thank you, Jasmine, for being here. So today we're going to talk about no more mealtime madness, planning a peaceful meal with your kids. And I cannot get my... Okay, there we go. All right. Well, I guess I already introduced myself. So that's the introduction. Online logistics. If you're not talking, if everyone could please mute themselves while I'm presenting. That way there's no interruptions or anything. However, we would love for y'all to participate as much as possible. We really want this to be more of a conversation / dialogue rather than me just being up here and, talking the whole time. I'm only 23 years old. So I know that y'all probably have a lot more experience than me in the kitchen. I'm, hoping to learn as much from y'all as maybe some of the suggestions that y'all might learn from this slide. Your video is not required. So if you want to put your video on, feel more than free to welcome to do that. However, don't feel like you have to do that. But before we get started, if everyone would like to share their family's favorite dish to cook or eat together. I didn't think about this question beforehand, but now I'm trying to think about what my family's favorite dish might be to cook or eat together. I mean,
So my family we like to make pizza together at home.
really? Okay, I've
Um,
never made my own pizza. Do you make your dough too, or do you buy the dough
sometimes,
pre-made?
sometimes we like to make our own dough, but if we have enough time, we do. But we
Wow.
Trader Joe's has some pretty cheap dough.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
thank you, Jasmine, for
Yeah,
that. Wait, last question though. Do you cook it in the oven or how do you? Okay.
just one.
Awesome. Well, if anyone else has a family favorite dish to cook or eat together, please
Yeah. So
chat it in.
we have a couple in the chat. We've got some roasted veggies, some pizza, tacos, salads, and another that says tacos. Ooh, shrimp
Awesome.
and pasta, chili. Mm.
Lots of different things. Awesome. Thank you guys for sending those in. And please feel free whenever there's a question to chat in as much as you want, or even if there's not a question, if you have a question or comment or anything, please just comment as much as possible. So some of the things that we'll go over today is practicing using recipe frameworks. These are really a good way to, when you're thinking about what you're going to make, you don't always have to think about it in a step-by-step recipe. There's lots of ways that we can use our own creativity or mold certain foods to maybe, things that our family might like, that certain members in our family might like. It also can, if there's a food and a recipe that might be too expensive, don't feel like you have to throw that recipe all the way away. Maybe you can make a substitution that will make that recipe still just as good. But we'll also, so we'll discuss how to substitute ingredients as well, following off that. And then also basic meal planning and getting kids involved. And meal ideas that allow each family member to choose the toppings or ingredient that they enjoy. And I think this is really, a big thing for people with kids because, we tend to think that kids are a little bit pickier eaters. And it's true because there takes more time for their taste buds to develop. So there's a couple of different ideas that, you make the main meal, but you let your kids decide what toppings they might want on top of it. So we usually always start every class with this diagram of my plate. And I like this visual a lot better than the food pyramid, just because this makes more sense if you're thinking about a meal, if you're looking at this and thinking about how much of each food from each food group that you should have. So if you notice that fruits and vegetables should actually be about half of um, what you should be eating, which I know that I have not been good about that. And that is something that I am working on, eating more fruits and vegetables. And then also grains and protein make up the second half of that with dairy on the side. Um, anyways, though, so when talking about recipe frameworks, this is a good example of one. Salads can be a very easy way to essentially figure out what you want to eat, but not follow a very strict recipe. So if you look at this, and I'll try to get everyone's emails that are joining us tonight so that I can send out all these handouts that we have, because they're great resources that you can use whenever. So yeah, but when looking at this, instead of, rather finding a specific recipe for a specific salad, it's a really good idea to maybe look at something from a framework. That way, you can, see what you already have in your pantry. That way you're reducing on a lot of extra costs, or going out and buying ingredients maybe just specifically for one recipe where you might never use that ingredient again, and then it just sits in your pantry. So when we think about meal planning, it's, really important to kind of take inventory of what you already have in your refrigerator or pantry. To use the foods that you already have on hand. That way you don't have to spend extra money. So if you just go through this and follow, you can include whatever greens that you want for your salad, whether it be lettuce, spinach, romaine, and then whatever toppings that you want, like veggies or protein or other add-ins, and salad dressing. So essentially, yeah, what today is just not feeling like you have to necessarily stick to a very specific rigid recipe. Feel free to essentially pick and choose whatever you want based on your family's needs, wants, likes, dislikes. Um, and that way it will, usually satisfy everyone in the family a lot more, rather than if there's one person that doesn't like something, trying to mend or mold a recipe that fits everyone's likes and dislikes and your family. And so then this is just another example of soups. It's the same essential thing as the salads, the same framework kind of. You pick your protein, your vegetables, your liquid, and your whole grains. So beef, chicken, turkey, pork, beans for your protein, and then really, and even these frameworks only have a few vegetables on it, but I mean, I would say use whatever vegetables you want, whatever vegetables you like, or whatever vegetables that you can get your kids to eat. And then for liquid, water or a low sodium stock. But those are just two examples, and we'll talk more about recipe frameworks. These are, soups and salads are a little bit smaller, but we'll go into some detail with like pasta and casseroles, things that can really be a full meal. But before we go on to that, I think it's important to talk about just the kinds of different, veggies and fruits that we have. So a lot of people think that fresh fruits and veggies are more nutritious. However, frozen and canned are just as good. But there are some important things that you need to keep in mind when buying frozen and canned fruits and veggies. But first, with fresh, it's important to, well, it's not important, but just some things to keep in mind is buying in bulk. If you buy in bulk, things will be a lot cheaper. However, it is important to keep in mind that if you buy in bulk, make sure that you're taking into account how much you're buying so that you don't end up throwing away a lot because it, rots or goes bad. Because we always say that the most expensive food is the food that you have to throw away, because essentially you're not getting to eat or use that food. Buy in season fruits and vegetables are generally cheaper. I do not know what fruits or veggies are in season right now. I do not know what fruits and veggies are in season during the summer or the spring. But those can all easily, be that information can be obtained online if you ever are curious about that. But that is probably something too that I should start trying to learn. Also, comparing unit prices is important to make sure that you're getting the best deal on whatever you're buying. And then with frozen and canned, with vegetables, it's important that you look at added sodium, because a lot of times in frozen or canned veggies, they'll add sodium to those products to make them taste better. Whereas fruits, they will add sugar. And I have an example of the way to read those on a label.
And
So,
very well, sorry to interrupt,
no,
but
you're fine.
those veggies, if they are in a can and you see that it does have very high sodium, what you can do to get rid of some of the sodium is just to rinse those veggies off. It gets rid of a very large amount of the sodium, and then you basically just have the veggies that you wanted in the first place.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jasmine. Um, so yeah, comparing certain labels. So this is an example of 2 cans of peach. So which peaches are lower in sugar? If you notice, one is sliced peaches and heavy syrup, whereas the other is sliced peaches and 100% juice. So which one do y'all think will have less added sugar? I guess you can see on the screen, but I'll point out to that. But also, when looking at it, it's important to look at serving sizes. As you can see, these are both the same serving size, so therefore they can be directly compared. And yes, as you see in this one, the sliced peaches with heavy syrup have 12 grams of added sugars, which is 24% of your daily value. And that's just in a serving, but in the whole container is 84% of your daily value. Whereas the one in 100% juice has no added sugars. So that's something just, to keep in mind whenever you're purchasing canned or frozen vegetables and fruits. And it'll essentially be the exact same thing for vegetables, except you just have to look at cholesterol and how much each one has of that. And so, yeah, the sliced peaches in 100% juice has no added sugars. As far as protein and dairy, you can get protein from a variety of foods such as beans, nuts, seeds, soy, and eggs. Make sure you're mindful of portion sizes, especially with with protein, because I know for me, I eat a lot of meat, and I don't necessarily mean like I eat it for every meal, but something that I've been trying to do better is not to eat as much, trying to make the other things on my plate a little bit bigger portions where my protein is smaller, because for me, that's a really easy way for me to, go over on portion sizes is with protein. And then same with this, compare unit prices to find the best deals. And yes, pretty much the same as dairy, but with dairy, just make sure you're looking for saturated fats and added sugars when you're reading those labels. So I have a few questions for y'all, so please feel free to answer these. How do you plan your meals? What are some of the benefits and what are some of the challenges? So basically any experience you have with meal planning, please feel free to share. And Jasmine, I do see that there are a few comments. I don't know if we want to read those now or...
Yeah, in the chat, people were just commenting about how maybe they didn't know something that we mentioned or they liked one of the tips that we had to share.
Okay, awesome. Well, while y'all are chatting that in, I will move to the next slide and go over that. So maybe y'all will have some responses to this once I'm done with that. So some meal planning basics is don't get stuck in the weeds. Don't worry about the small things. If there's one ingredient that you do not have, do not throw that recipe away. Feel free to add something in and or substitute it. And we'll go through a list of different substitutions that you can make, which is really it's a great resource to look through if you're like, oh, I don't have this. This is a good resource to find something that might easily work into a recipe. Shop the fridge and the pantry first. As I said earlier, make sure you're taking inventory of what you have in your fridge and pantry. This will help you save a lot of money, especially avoiding unnecessary purchases. Because you don't really want to buy an ingredient for one recipe. I know this is why my parents always hate when I cook, because I'm like, I want to do the most complicated, complex recipe. And then it's like I buy all these things and then we never use them again. So that's something really easy to do to try to save on a lot of costs. And that's also a good way in order to use ingredients across several meals. If you think about the essentials or, really breaking it down into like, your grains and stuff, and how can you use those for more than one meal? Looking at weekly ads and digital coupons, trying to find the best deals, and then maybe making your basing your meal planning around that. Also, a great thing to do is getting your kids involved. This makes them a lot more excited about what they're going to eat if they have some say in it. And also help letting them cook too. These are great ways to get kids to try new things if they're actually seeing or actually being a part of the process of deciding what they're going to eat. And I have another question. What ingredients do you have on hand that need to be used right now? And Jasmine, yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
so we have some chats. Let me just scroll up. So we've got someone saying that their daughter is a vegetarian, so they wind up making 2 separate meals, and that their daughter also hates leftovers. So that's kind of tough. Another saying that meal planning helps reduce stress. Someone saying that they meal plan on the weekends, go to the store on the weekends. Sometimes they buy food that goes bad before they can eat it, and that's their biggest challenge. They want to learn how to freeze fresh veggies. Someone else said that they have trouble making something that everyone will want to eat. And then asked, well, maybe I should just make what I like, which is a good way to
Yeah.
go. Someone else said that the kids love to help cook. And then someone else responded about the whole maybe I should just make what I like, that they keep a cookbook and note how many people in the family liked it in case they want to go back to it later.
Awesome. I really like that idea. Thank you guys for sharing. And yeah, with some of the things about like picky eaters and having maybe a child that's vegetarian, recipe frameworks can be a really good way to please everyone in your family, especially things that where you don't have to put the toppings on. You don't have to mix everything in at or you can let people serve, they can serve themselves. So if you do have, a protein that comes in the form of meat, maybe, we just put everything in bowls and then let them serve themselves as they go. That way, you hopefully don't have to make 2 separate meals. So yes, here's another framework, a step-by-step pasta dinner. Pasta's a really easy thing to, try to get creative with, or, base it on the likes of what your family likes, the likes of what your family likes. Yeah. So breaking it up just into like what kind of pasta you want, and then what kind of protein are you going to have, veggies, sauce, and seasonings. As long with casseroles, and Jasmine brought up a really good point to me today with casseroles, is casseroles can be really good for meal planning because once you make them, you can even, package them in individual containers and then freeze them and use those throughout the week whenever you want, whether it be lunch or dinner. If you do like leftovers, I know some people don't. But yeah, casseroles are a really easy way to and usually I feel like casseroles are pretty big. I've very rarely, whenever we make a casserole, we eat it all in the first night. So you're just kind of getting more bang with your buck there. And if you want to make sure that it doesn't go bad, you can even put those in it's their own individual containers and freeze them and heat them up in a microwave whenever you want to eat them. That'll save you a lot of time. If you're on the go, it'll also save you a lot of time with not trying to plan what to eat. And then again, a stir fry is a great example of something that, use as a framework. I know for me, I like, whenever I don't necessarily know what to make, I kind of like trying to do like a Chipotle bowl or something. Usually I always have, some sort of beans or rice in my pantry. So I just take those as my base and then try to include whatever veggies I can into that. So just thinking about, what your meals might be in that kind of way, rather than, okay, I need to make this recipe this night, that recipe whenever. Just giving yourself, more leniency, and not feeling like you have to follow any recipe step by step or ingredient by ingredient.
Even here, Will, I think this is a cool example because it shows that even just by changing the sauce, you can change completely like how your meal tastes.
Exactly. And I know sauce can sometimes really make or break a meal. Um, so yeah, if there's a recipe where you like every vegetable or fruit or something in it, but oh, the sauce, you don't like the sauce, well, don't be afraid to try to, find another sauce that everyone likes and using that. And this is something that also I've been learning a lot about. Like, it's not likely that the first time you make something, it's going to be the best. But, just kind of like going about it as trial by error. Um, and trying it again and figuring out a way, well, I did like that, but maybe this time I could do this. Mistakes and setbacks are going to happen when cooking. Not everything turns out perfectly, but that's not a reason to be discouraged. We're all learning as we go. No one is the one know it all when it comes to food and cooking, so we're all learning from together. We're all learning together. So here are some more questions. What are ways to involve the whole family in menu planning, and how do your kids help? So yeah, as I said, getting kids involved with menu planning and also cooking is a really good way to get them just excited about mealtime and what they might be eating. It also will increase their willingness to try new things if they actually are part of the process of maybe, you know, I don't know, cutting a vegetable or fruit that they might have not tried before. But and also if you put it in something else, it's a lot more likely that they'll realize that they like it rather than just eating it by itself. Um, and also, um, it's important to know that if you haven't been doing like meal planning or something, that don't feel like you have to all of a sudden um, have every meal plan for the week. Take it one step at a time. If it's just a couple of meals during the week, that's a good start. And also, and another good way into getting like kids involved based on their age is having like smaller decisions for younger kids. So maybe if it's pasta, deciding whether or not they want macaroni elbows or spaghetti or something small like that. Whereas for older kids, start becoming a little bit more independent. You can give them bigger responsibilities of what they want. So yeah, this is a great resource for substitutions. And what I really love about this page is that it breaks it down also into whether or not you're using a fruit or vegetable raw or cooked, because we know cooking fruits and vegetables can change the texture a lot. So basically, yeah, you can just go through this. If something calls for grapes and there's no grapes, well, the grapes are just supposed to be raw. You could include cherries, berries, or banana, but if cooked, which now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever had cooked grapes. I don't know if anyone else has. But yeah, other cherries or berries would be a great example. I guess I probably like a broccoli would have been a better example for that. But yeah, I don't know. Has anyone had cooked grapes before? But yes, this is a great resource. And yeah, as I said, I'm going to try to get everyone's email so I can send these out because this is a lot to remember. I don't think I would remember to replace mushrooms with summer squash. So but Jasmine, I'm seeing a few chats. I don't know if we want to wait or if you want to go ahead and read those.
I can read them now. So
Okay.
we got someone saying that they plan leftovers for 1 or 2 nights a week. Someone else said that they always eat leftovers for lunch. Someone else can't get behind the idea of cooked bananas, which don't blame you.
Yeah, I guess that would maybe be in the form of like some sort of dessert. I don't
Ooh,
know.
fried plantains. Yes.
Yeah.
One with fried plantains, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, more just cooked grape talk.
Well, I'm happy
Yeah,
that
I think
was
that's a
a
really good idea. At least like if you want to dip your toe into meal planning, maybe just meal planning all of your dinners for the week or all of your lunch or small bite-size
Mhm.
steps in the right direction.
Awesome. Okay. And let's see, I have 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna kind of speed up a little bit. Sorry about that. I lost track of time. So yeah, this is, I would also really encourage, printing out a calendar just to make it a lot easier to kind of guide yourself when doing meal planning. And I really like the way that this one is set up because it breaks it up into breakfast, lunch, and dinner rather than, just going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that makes it a little bit easier to plan for just because, you could use the same thing multiple times for breakfast, and it even has at the side, pick at least three, pick vegetables, fruits, and grains, and then figure out the way that you can make, three different meals with that. Um, and I would also really encourage, maybe like on a Sunday night, sitting down with your kids, or just your family or whoever you live with, and, trying to determine what y'all want that week, and that's just a good way to get them involved too. um yeah, I really should probably do this too. As I'm living at home, I'm starting to have a lot more responsibility on cooking because my parents do not want to do it anymore. And I'm just looking at this calendar like I'm gonna go print this off after this and start using it. But moving on. So, and then these next slides are just, kind of to give you some ideas of what kids can do in the kitchen based on their age. So ages 3 to 5, we don't want to give them too much responsibility, obviously, so they can do things retrieving items from the pantry, identifying the pot or pan for the occasion, counting cups, assembling items. And even though that these seem really small tasks, it'll make all the difference to those kids because it really makes them feel like they're a part of the process, and will also help them carry on cooking habits for the rest of their lives. Ages 6 to 7, read the recipe, crack eggs, measure small amounts of ingredients, use an egg beater, rinse, scrub, and peel produce, grate, decorate cookies, roll out and shape dough, cut soft foods with a plastic knife. And then ages 9 to 13, when they start, can have a little bit more responsibility, following recipes and making simple meals by themselves using electrical tools like blenders and mixers, open cans, drain cooked pasta in a colander, and remove trays from the oven with adult supervision. And then I just wanted y'all to kind of see this recipe because taco, we were talking about having meals where each person can put whatever toppings they want on it. That way, if there's one thing that someone doesn't like, it won't, cancel that out for the whole family. So tacos are a really great way. And I just wanted to draw attention to that this recipe actually calls for turkey meat rather than beef, which me and my family have been starting to do this a lot more, which I strongly recommend just because, but depending on, whatever your family likes, um, it is a lot easier on my stomach. And half the time I can't even tell that it's turkey because of it's usually included into something else, and it has a lot less fat in it than beef.
Turkey is also cheaper usually.
Thank you. I did not know that, Jasmine. But okay, so it is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to run through these real fast. But if you feel like you need to go or short on time, thank you for joining. But yeah, make small changes to recipes to make them work better for your family and your budget. If a recipe calls for a food that is too pricey, too hard to find, or that you simply don't care for, just substitute another one. It's okay to start with just a concept or an idea instead of a exact recipe. Don't worry and keep practicing as you develop your cooking confidence. You'll get better at making simple recipe adjustments. And then try simple meals that allow kids or other picky eaters to choose their own toppings or ingredients. Here's another great resource. This is budgetbites.com. I've never used it before, but Jasmine says she has, and she said it's really great. It gives you, yeah, Jasmine, if you want to talk about that.
You can search for recipes based on ingredient, and they're all very cost effective. So would highly recommend.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, you can see like it says $3.68 for recipe or 49 cents for serving. So yeah, it breaks it down for you like that. We also have some of our own resources. We have the Cooking Matters app. However, it is not available for iPhone users. However, if you have a Android, please feel free to download it. It has all of our recipes. They're in English and Spanish. So if there's anyone that you know, tell them about that. But we also, if you are an iPhone user or just don't want to download it on your phone, we have cookingmatters.org/recipes, which also has all of our recipes. So feel free to check those out. We also have a Cooking Matters Facebook page. There's the Cooking Matters National page, but there's also Cooking Matters Arkansas. We're always sharing, events and recipes and stuff. And I actually read something the other day that a good way to stay motivated when it comes to cooking is to follow a lot of, recipe ideas and food pages, because that way it reminds you throughout the day, which seems really smart that I never thought, or like that I just never thought about that, because I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna cook this amount this week, and then by the end of the day I'm like, oh, I already forgot. But if you want that reminder throughout the day, social media is a great place to stay motivated. And then we also have some more resources at cookingmatters.org/cookingmattershome. And yeah, this is just another example. We have videos of recipes and tips and stuff, so check out all of that. And my name is Will, and my email is wsafford@arhungeralliance.org. So if you want to contact me for any questions, but also we have Alex, our nutrition outreach manager, and Sam, our nutrition director. They know a lot more than me, so but feel free to email any of us with any questions or comments. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you next session, which I think is February the 9th.